So John Szilagyi, while a brilliant man, made a terrible career choice, because if you're going to have $20 billion ideas, the IRS is absolutely the wrong place to have them. When it came time for a bonus that year, John Szilagyi was passed over. Nothing. Apparently you need $30 billion ideas at the IRS to earn a bonus. And it was interesting, he actually retired extremely. When we finally met him, he had retired, and he was extremely disgruntled by the fact, not so much that he had never gotten any financial rewards, but he had imagined that he would be made into a hero, that when he walked into the lunchroom at the IRS after his idea had been put into place, people would stand and cheer for him, and nobody did. Nobody cared. And he was actually said to us that he wished he had never had his idea. He wished that he had kept it from the IRS because he felt so mistreated along the way. Now, why would I tell you a story about this guy, John Szilagyi? A couple of reasons. First of all, I'm an economist, and I believe that incentives are central to everything. And much more, I think, than other people, economists look at everything through the lens of incentives. And I think it's always a good idea when you start thinking about a problem to think about the incentives. And this is a great situation of incentives, where you've got taxpayers who are cheating, like my father, because there were incentives to do so. The audit rates were really low, and without a Social Security number, it was very difficult for the government to figure out who your kids really were. There were the incentives of people like John Szilagyi. No incentive. If you want to have an organization in which people innovate, you either have to reward them financially, or you have to reward them with some kind of social recognition, or no one will have any ideas. You got the incentives of John Szilagyi's first bosses, who passed up for something like 6 years, $2 billion a year in revenues, just because they wanted to go to a few more of their kids' soccer games rather than hold the public meetings that would take some time and be a certain amount of effort. Okay, that's not really the reason. The second reason is that I want you to appreciate the fact that even though John Szilagyi didn't use computer programs and didn't have big data, he was using data, that he was observing the world around him in a way that other people weren't. And it was really it was the same kind of skills that data analysts use, data scientists use. It just wasn't doing it with big data. Okay? And the third piece I think that's so important, and more important than anything, is that what John Szilagyi had was an idea. Okay? And he had the best kind of ideas. I mean, there are big, amazing ideas like string theory and theory of relativity, things that people like you and I will probably never have. But what John Szilagyi had was this amazing idea, because it is completely and totally obvious, right? When I say to you that why, of course we should have the Social Security number next to the names. It's worth $2 billion a year. You're like, of course, yeah. But what's interesting is there must have been 10,000 people who did a job like John Szilagyi, who looked at the same data year after year after year, and it didn't occur to any of them. And it took 60, 70, 80 years, 60, 70, not 80, years of the tax code for somebody to figure out that we should do it. Okay? And those are the ideas that get me most excited, because they're right there for the taking. Anyone could see them, but there's something about daily life and conventional wisdom and the way that the brain works that makes it hard to somehow see the obvious until someone points it out.